Brahmaraji, you are on mute, please.
Okay. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Chaiva Tato Jayamudirayet. Jai Gurudev. So many things for us to emulate, starting from Amanitvam, Madambitvam, Ahimsa, Arjavam.
I was thinking about the same thing. In the, what shall I say? In the apparent world, one has to prove what all one has done. So you have to, in your whatever report, you have to say, I did this, I did this, I did that, etc., etc. Though sometimes you really don't want to do like that, but you still have to do that. So are we inadvertently getting into this pride? That's the thought.
Well, I think if, as part of your job, if you have to do that with this at the back of your mind, that you're doing it because of whatever you're required to do, then I don't think it will lead to conceit. As long as you're aware. The problem is when you're not aware and when you're craving for that. See, that conceit and wanting name, fame, wanting everybody to respect you, that comes because of unawareness, no? Because of.
Okay.
See, because
Thank you.
Gurudev also has been mentioning, all of us who do seva are quietly doing seva. Usually nobody would kind of mention, this is what I've done, that is what I've done. But there has come a time when you will have to mention it, because the way the world is going on, unless the people who are noble speak up, um, it will not have. Because if you look at the news, the mainstream news, it has more of negativity than positivity. Nothing of what noble service that is being done is actually mentioned in anywhere. It's just a small little column somewhere in the third or fourth page. But mainstream news, those that catch headlines, are always those that are like to do with violence, to do with all kinds of negativity. So when you have to mention that, I don't think it's a matter of conceit, as long as we're doing it with that good intention. But if you slip out of unawareness, you slip into this the 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 attitude of wanting likes. Like when you post any social media post, you're posting it for a reason, with some intention. But if you are holding on to, oh, how many people have liked, how many likes did I get for this post, then you're getting into this manitvam and dambitvam or whatever. But you're letting go of that. Aparigraha, I think that comes in. So non-acquisition of all of this. isn't it?
Yeah. Are you talking about Amanitvam? Is that what the,
Yeah, I'm talking of
uh,
Amanitvam.
right, right. That's a learning, today's learning point of all of that.
Yeah.
Manitvam, Adambitvam,
Adambitvam.
Ahimsa, which is probably we do that mostly. And Shanti is, I thought Shanti is the other piece, but then here it said Shanti.
This is not Shanti, this is Kshanti. Kshanti. That is, um, it is not that Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti that we talk of. That is Sha. This is Ksha. So this is accommodation. And talking of Ahimsa, it is Ahimsa not only um, uh, to living sentient things, to non-living things. I'm only, amazed at how Gurudev has included all of this in all our courses, especially when we talk of Art Excel, we talk of respect for self and respect for others, and that others includes non-living things, living things. In such a beautiful, subtle manner, he has included these tenets into our courses. So ahimsa is thought, word, and deed. Even thinking ill of someone, it accounts to himsa. So that much of purity we should have inside. That
Yeah, enmity and all that, right? That's what
isn't it?
Nana was saying. Yeah, you can't even think of that. Like, basically, even the thought, body and mind, right? That's what the, I don't know, I wrote it down somewhere.
Arjavam. Arjavam is where,
Arjavam is a straightforwardness.
yeah, where all your thought, word, deed are in sync.
Yeah. Mm.
In
You know, when
Ashtavakra, we say sincerity, no? Arjava, same thing.
Right.
Mm.
Long back there was a beautiful poem in the newspaper. It was written, I think, by a black person or whoever it was. It was about how we are, um, when we are so hypocritical in the sense when you have a guest at home, when someone knocks at your door and you open, on the face you might be having a fake smile, but in your mind you're actually thinking, oh, why did this person come at this point of time? You're welcoming them from your words, but then in your mind you're quite the opposite. So that is lack of arjavam. So if you can be transparent in both your thought, word, and deed, that is practicing arjavam.
yeah, even the body language, she said, right? Like that
What
Nana was saying. Yeah. So you mean with that's the one he said about body and mind, I think.
right?
Okay. And then the Shanti is the one you said. What was the Shanti is?
Kya. It is ka and
Yeah.
T is
Right.
Accommodation or acceptance.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's like
I
that
yeah.
special space to accommodate everyone, all their imperfections, and so you don't get so flustered.
Hari Om. Uh, Kshanti, as Nanaji has very beautifully defined today by giving Kshanti and Arjavam, they go along with each other. Kshanti means being accommodative to every person around you, to every situation around you, and to every circumstances which are coming in your life around you. Being accommodative. Accepting, I mean, he gave a very wonderful example, like there will be some person who is not in line with what you are thinking. He may be less or more than you, but still for the for the cost of your own peace of mind and for the peace of the whole family or the whole surrounding, you try to compromise at that time or at that situation, and you just go along as if it is okay to accept whatever the other person's opinion is at that time. So that is Kshanti and Arjavam, being saralta. In Hindi, it is like Arjava means saralta. Your thought, your behavior, your thinking. I mean, you are completely in line with whatever you have, being straightforward.
Thank you, Bella. That was nice. Thank you. I know when I'm listening, you think you got all of that, but then you make short short note of everything, then it trying to form a sentence and oh, where did he say this, that, like, thank you. That was nice.
And one more thing about ahimsa, which comes to my mind from various other knowledge sessions of Gurudev, is even to ourselves. No, I
Yeah,
think
you are included. Ahimsa.
yesterday or somewhere I came across that anger is ahimsa to yourself, because
Himsa to yourself.
ahimsa to yourself, because you are more hurt than the other person. Because if you're holding anger inside you, you are hurting yourself. So that is himsa to yourself.
Yeah, that's very beautiful. Very beautiful.
And Shaucham, Acharyopasanam, reverence for the teacher. Because unless we have the reverence for the teacher, there is no element of Shraddha. No? And how do you gain knowledge? You gain knowledge only through having that element of Shraddha, revering them, and Shaucham, cleanliness. Not just bodily, external cleanliness, but also inner cleanliness. It's so important to keep our inner house clean. The upper story, Antakarana.
Antakarna Shuddhi. Yeah. So Antakarna is basically, it includes mind, all the indriyas, action, the organs of action also included, I think. So if that is the case, then we have to keep
Antakarana,
all that.
yeah, it includes manas, the manas, chitta, ahankara, and your intellect, buddhi. All these four are included in the Antakarana. Whereas all our organs, sense organs, organs of action, they all are bahi, in the outside. You can see them. Whereas those that are subtle are the Antakarana. So both
But
outwardly and inwardly cleansed.
the organs of action is subtle body, right? It's not Stula Sarira. I mean, the function of it I'm talking about, like, so if you talk about gross body and the subtle body, I thought the subtle body is the one has all those things. Panchakoshamaya, and then that 15, 17 we counted, right? Like organs of action and organs of sense organs, and the mind and intellect.
Stula Shariram Kim.
Yeah. Stula Sarira is the external body itself, right? Like that. So anyway, so that you're right. I mean, the cleanliness is more not only external, internal also. You said about that.
And the steadfastness is like, you- I know I've been missing classes. I felt so bad about Nana was saying you've been attending. I know I miss sometimes
I think
because
we don't. I don't think you should feel guilty about missing a class if for
yeah,
some reason you could not attend. But the
right,
very fact that you're coming back, the very fact also that people who miss classes are listening to the recording, that
right,
itself is
right.
steadfastness. No, so you don't need to
Yeah.
feel bad that you're not attending the live session, as long as that intention is there in your mind. I want to stay connected, I want to listen, I want to learn. That also
Yeah.
amounts to steadfastness. What I think
Yeah.
that is what Nana
That's
meant. It didn't mean physically attending class every
no,
time. Good,
yeah,
I mean, it's cool to be available to attend a live class, but even
mm,
so, that we're all staying connected itself is, it amounts to that steadfastness. Not letting go of your commitment to this, to the knowledge.
yeah, definitely. I do want to pattern every day, but then, as he said, like this week, we should talk about it later. But then, so many things happening.
Then
So
Atma
the yeah, go ahead. Atma
self-discipline,
Vinigraha is self-discipline.
self-discipline.
That's one he was saying, like,
Bodily discipline is included in this, in addition to discipline in the mind.
Jai Gurudev, uh, can you elaborate this? Nanaji said about the aparapara, and then related to Kshetre and Kshetragya. At that point, I wasn't clear about.
there was something he brought about Vita Raga. I was trying to write it and then I missed that. I was going to ask that question, so. And then he mentioned something about Vita Raga something.
He was drawing some comparisons between what was said in chapter 7, I think. No, all of this Bhagwan is actually mentioned also in chapter 7.
Hmm.
uh, Savita ji, I couldn't get your question. What was it?
The shloka which Nanaji started today, first shloka, he was explaining that this is again para and apara, and how it is related to Kshetra and Kshetragya. That point wasn't clear to me. The first shloka he was describing.
You mean Mahabhutanyahankaraha?
Yeah, I think this was the. And he started from shloka 4.
Come.
Uh, that was the first shloka. He started with shloka 4 a little bit, then on 5. But he started with that. It wasn't clear. He just made 2-3 sentences and then he went on to the another shloka. How apara and para and apara related to the kshetra and kshetragya.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
able to recollect that. See, even
Okay.
I have, when we talk of paroksha jnana, it is what we understand, right? But there, I think in that shloka that Manana mentioned, para prakriti and apara prakriti were compared to kshetra
Yeah.
and kshetrajna. So apara prakriti is all that we are seeing, and para prakriti is kshetrajnaha. That is what it was, the comparison. Is that what you wanting?
Yeah. That.
Yeah. So in the Jnana Vijnana Yoga in chapter 7, I can't remember the shloka that Nana quoted. Um,
The apara is kshetragya. Yeah, right?
No, apara is the kshetra,
Kshetra.
and
Okay.
yeah, and para prakriti is kshetrajna.
Kshetragya. Okay. Okay.
I have a doubt here. Normally, when we say paroksha jnana, it is about what we can see, and aparoksha jnana is that actually experiencing or getting to know, realizing it. So there is this. I had this doubt about this para prakriti and apara prakriti. This confusion was there, but maybe that is how it is. But
It
we
was
say
it was explained in chapter 2, na, right? Para and apara, or it was in 3 chapter.
Nana said chapter 7.
7, yeah.
But it,
7.
it was mentioned earlier also. What I remember, it was in chapter. He mentioned it in chapter 2 and 3 also. I'm not getting it right, maybe. Okay. I mean, in chapter 7 it is there, but initially also we when we were going through the Manana class, there was this para and apara. I think we studied in chapter 2.
Maybe I'm not able to recollect that, but um, and this is what he mentioned. He said para prakriti is kshetrajna and apara prakriti is kshetra.
Okay, thank you.
This I wanted to share this in this indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha doshanu darshanam. So this dispassion with reference to sense objects and indeed absence of pride and seeing clearly the defects of pain in birth, death, old age and disease. We could also, consider these defects of pain in birth, death, and disease, old age, as they're all fleeting and they're all changing. They're changing entities. They're not eternal. One goes into the other. There is that. Uh, so that could also be considered the defect. And you're seeing this anu. That word anu was very beautiful. Dosha anudarshanam, seeing it moment to moment. Being in that clear awareness that uh, this is what is changing and staying with that unchanging entity within. Dosha anudarshanam. That is a problem with our thing, is that we slip into this darshanam of our pain, of our birth, death, and whatever disease, and then therefore we get into misery. But if you're able to look at it as something which is changing, then
Yeah, everything going to pass like that, right? Like, I mean,
yeah.
it's temporary, so you just
Mm.
let it pass, or some, don't remember, somewhere I read that. Yeah, so this everything is changing.
Changing, everything is changing.
Yeah.
Same thing with respect to the sense objects, vairagyam, ragaha there. So
Yeah,
you
that was clear to me, but then what is they talking about defects of pain? I had that question also, that one. When you say seeing clearly the defects of pain in birth, death, old age, and disease. So that's where you're talking about that.
yeah,
So these are temporary. So you
correct.
take the this body getting old and So you want to leave this body and go to the next body or something. So
Correct. So
that was, mhm.
you
Yeah,
can look
he
at it in
was.
that way. You can also look at it that they are anyway fleeting,
Mhm.
and uh, and therefore you are free from that fear of death, fear of disease, fear of old age. All this is anyway changing.
Right. Dosha no darshanam. What does that mean? Dosha no darshanam.
Doshanu darshanam. That is, what is it? Seeing
Seeing
clearly,
clearly.
seeing
Seeing
clearly,
clearly. Okay. Mhm.
seeing clearly, and anudarshanam. I found that word anu very beautiful. Anu actually
Mhm.
is, I think the other meaning of anu in anu is uh, anu, anu is
Atom,
different.
atom, small particle, atom.
Is that anu? I think that is the double, the bigger na. It is not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. This is.
anu is
Uh,
atom, but anu is moment to moment.
Fine knowledge, no? Fine awareness.
Yeah. Then
This this para really, a lot of stuff came up for me. Like when I just started this class, I had lost my siblings and I had lost that power of dispassion, and so much of grief was there. And then when I came back to this knowledge, now I feel so complete. Like all that grief is gone. And what Nana said, that there is no ownership. Your wife is not yours. Your son is not yours. They're given to you by Bhagwan. Same thing with brothers, sisters. They are all given to us by God. They are not ours. Made so much of sense today. This paragraph really hit me today. And
mm,
it made a lot of sense. Like coming back into knowledge uh, was the best thing that could have happened to me. Like in spite of being on this path for 25 years, I was grief stricken.
mhm.
And in this group, I could share and get over it. Like, thank you, all of you.
Very beautiful. I'm so in awe of your humility, Percy ji. Really, really. Hats off to your humility, and you're so down to earth. That's something to learn from.
Yes, and you are an inspiration for all of us. I mean, it is such a epitome of seva and for commitment for Guru.
And in fact, when Nana was talking of amanitvam, adambitvam, I was only thinking about you. You do so much of seva, but you don't seem to kind of uh, show it off. I suppose you're getting what I'm trying to say, but you're just doing things where you don't have that amanitvam. You have that amanitvam so beautifully there. You're like personification of that.
True. So much to learn and emulate, like a role model for us.
No?
Thank you for being in this group and inspiring all of us. Thank you, Persiji.
Thank you for your kind words.
And this one, asakti ranabhishwangaha putradara grihadishu nityam cha samachitatvam nishtanistopapatishu. You know, um, when I read this, when I understood it, the literal kind of meaning, absence of excessive affection towards son, wife, house, etc. For me, I understood it as you should not be so attached to your, son, wife, house, and things like that. You must have that vairagya towards them. But Nana brought in another beautiful perspective to it. He said, you take care of them like how be devoted to them like how you're devoted to Bhagavan, while doing all that you have to do towards them, like you're their trustee. That brings in that element of care rather than being just non-attached. When you're non-attached, when there is vairagya, there is an element of maybe you will not take care. But he's brought in that beautiful perspective of you take care of them, like how you worship God, like how you do that. At the same time, uh, have this understand that you're only a trustee. They are given to you by Bhagwan. And this is what it rings in so well with what Gurudev had once said about some sannyasis. He said it's so sad that some sannyasis in some of the sects, not of course in the art of living, where they uh, they don't even look at their mother, because according to them they think taking care of their own family, or even connecting to their mother, wife, or not wife, mother, will bring them back into grahastha. So there are some sannyasis who don't even look and give speak to their parents. So that should not be there. So putra dara grahadishu anabhishvanga.
It's more like it's love. You do love. I mean, they say, you say you be loving, that's something good, but without that attachment, right? The attachment is what's causing all the pain and sorrow. So you have to separate that attachment. And of course, you can still be kind and caring for the people. Yeah, that was same question I also felt like, especially here, at least when I was growing up, I don't see my mother or father saying I love you or anything like that. In here, we're so used to telling our kids and grandkids and everything, 100 times you have to say that. And so that was the thing. Then I said, okay, well, maybe you have to do it without attaching yourself. They're still your family member.
Yeah. And evenness of the mind. Ishta nishtopapatishu, regarding the gain of desirable and undesirable. So much in sync with our 5 knowledge points again. All of these things.
Brahmaraji, asaktihi and asaktihi, are they same in Sanskrit as well? Because normally we are used to pronounce as asakti, no? So asaktihi and asakti are same?
No, there is a difference. No, asakti is different. I think asakti is your
Dispassion.
no, asakti is your, I think having, I may be wrong, but my understanding of asakti is you have a penchant, you have what should I say, a flair for that. If you have asakti in arts, that means you have an interest in arts. That is the asakti. That is the double
Okay.
A.
So
Whereas
this is asaktihi.
asaktihi anabhishvanga. That is why in Sanskrit it's very important when we say asaktihi, this is ktihi, it's the short, the hrasva. Whereas asaktihi is different. Maybe there's no word like that, but the ti, if you make it little longer, might have a different meaning. But when you have it hrasva, it is different. Same with asakti. Asakti is different, asaktihi is different.
Okay, thank you so much. So this is asaktihi.
Asaktihi.
Okay.
Could you repeat that, please?
No,
Asakti and asakti.
asakti, let me see. I think asakti, from what I understand,
Asakti is interest, I think. Asakti is
yes,
having
yeah.
interest for something.
Having a flair for something. You're interested in, say, dance forms or art form or
Yeah,
cooking.
passion.
Passion or
Passion for that. You say you have,
Asakti, like you have Asakti in Bhagwan that way. No?
yeah, correct. Whereas here, what is mentioned here is asaktihi. So that is why pronunciation is one little change will change the whole meaning. One little. That is why when we're chanting, as far as possible, we should be sticking to the Hrasva is this short E. The long E is Dirga. So that also makes a difference to the meaning of the word.
So asakti is an interest and asakti
Is absence of ownership.
ownership. Okay. Hmm.
And this shloka has too much of meaning for all mothers, no?
Yeah. I just want to chant these before we go to chapter 12. We just chant these. These are some of the shlokas that we have to, I think, by heart, so that we get all of them. At least by chanting, we will remember them. And then it's also good. I think these are what you had mentioned. No, I think Percy ji did it from chapter 12. So many lists we have. Amanitvamadam vitvam ahimsa kshantirarjavam acharyopasanam shaucham sthairyamatma vinigraha indriyartheshu vairagyam anahankara evacha janma mrityu jara vyadihi dukkadoshanudarshanam asaktiranabhishvangah putradharagृहादिषु nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishtopapatishu. Anyone wants to share anything? Otherwise, we'll get back to chapter 12.
I think today what we talked about in the second last stanza about accommodative nature, there also like accommodating everybody. Those who we feel have lesser qualities than us or whatever, or are lacking in knowledge, even accommodating them. Okay, we are on this path, we have the knowledge. And it makes sense to accommodate them also who are lacking in knowledge. Whatever mistake they are making is because they lack in knowledge. So neither be a victim nor a culprit.
Yeah.
Even this, like, it's so, I mean, it's humongous, this accommodative nature. If we really have to look at it as to how, when Gurudev talks about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, everybody is yours, everybody, the divine is present in everybody, the whole world is one big family. All this thing, how we can be accommodative by nature. Just one word, but it made such a lot of, it's beautiful in this Gita. Just keeping on to this one word, how much of change can come in our lives by just being accommodative by nature. Not sitting in judgment over people the way they are.
No, one shining example and is such a role model is Gurudev himself.
Yes.
The vastness of the spectrum of people he meets and he embraces. In fact, I think some of our some of the most should I say people who society would reject and shun, he has particularly given them attention and nurtured them. In so many of our own teachers were once hardcore drug addicts. They were hardcore terrorists. He's transformed them. He's paid particular attention to them, and then it was a life transformation for them.
One day I was in Rishikesh, and that was the time when you have that kind of you want to be near the master. So I did not join the advanced course there. I was just a teacher, and I didn't join, and I wanted to be with Gurudev only. So he let me be there. Like he would say, "Okay, Maharashtra ho gaya, now go." He would bless everybody, give prasad, and go. So then Bihar, then all the states one by one. And he let me sit. He would not drive me away. And every time that he would give out prasad, he would call me and say, "Arey, you didn't take prasad." So I was sitting there for the full day. When it came to Bihar's turn, it was the YLTP youth that were there in that meeting. And the way they spoke, the tone was offensive. And they said, "We are working in the field. What do you know?" They talked in this offensive tone with Gurudev. And the way he handled it, with so much of calmness, was a learning lesson for me. How accommodating he was to them. You know, telling Guruji, what do you know? We are there in the field, we are working there. What do you know about what we face? And it was such a, I mean, I couldn't stomach it, but then the way Gurudev handled was the day the entire change came into me at that point of time. Like I learned from him, it was such a big lesson to learn from him how, with such a calm mind, he handled those people and brought them around to his way of thinking. I was sitting through that whole, my God. Normally, we would also just give back in the same fashion, isn't it? But he didn't do that at all. He was so calm. It was really a learning stage for me at that time. I think probably I learned more from experience than from bookish knowledge.
I mean, just by watching him walk itself,
Yeah.
in the ashram, there's so many celebrities who come. He does not just get overwhelmed with all of them. He treats them with a respect, love, respect, and everything he gives. But just by watching him walk itself is such a learning experience. There's so much of poise, there's so much of centeredness, unhurriedness, except, of course, when he goes on his evening walks. There he goes on a nice, good space. But the way he walks as if he's walking on clouds so lightly. It's such a it's just to be around him and be there is an experience in itself. So Dr. Mara, I'm not sure whether you're still there in the meeting. Let me see if you're there. If you can, please do come to the ashram if you're able to. I will. I promised I'll connect with you. I'll message you after this, Manana. It's
Sure,
almost
sure.
45. So what
Thank
do we
you.
do about chapter 12? Should we spend 15 minutes on this? Is everybody okay? Because we've not touched upon chapter 12 today.
Yeah, we can. I mean, unless it's somebody else.
Let
I
me.
have time.
Fine. So I'm just going to do this. Giving up dehabhimana, even relatively, means having an appreciation that everything belongs to Ishvara, including this body. The individual, Vyashti, is included in the total Samishti. We actually did this yesterday, but I'm just doing a little recap. Consciously relinquishing the sense of ownership, mamatva, is the attitude of a karma yogi. Because of this, the dehatma buddhi is reduced, and from there knowledge can be gained. If a person has no insight into the swarupa of himself, so that his dehatma buddhi is complete, trying to meditate upon Aksharam Brahma is not going to help. Since it is a thing to be known, if he is not able to see at the time of teaching, how is he going to meditate? To know that you are Brahman, you must be able to relax, suspending all notions about yourself, and just expose yourself to the teaching. This is what is meant by becoming hollow and empty when you go to the master. If you go with all your concepts about yourself, there is no teaching that happens inside. Only then can you say, I am Brahman. Otherwise, the question will remain, how can I be Brahman? Therefore, with difficulty alone, this can be accomplished by one who has identification with the body. Dehavad bihi. What does he mean with difficulty? This is the shloka we're saying, Kleshodi katarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam. In fact, as long as there is identification with the body, it cannot be accomplished. Only when Dehabhimana is completely given up does one discover identity with Brahman. It is not even something that you can give up. It is a fact that has to be known. In fact, today morning when I woke up, this is what I was reflecting upon. This Deha Vimana came up in my mind. And, I try to look at myself as um, not identify myself with the body. But then as a karma yogi, unless you have that, the Dehabhimana is there for a karma yogi, except that you consider that as something that is given by Ishvara, that belongs to Ishvara. So that is why that doubt came. I said, why is Krishna giving so much of, inputs about the sannyasa when he wants Arjuna to actually be a karma yogi?
Yeah. But in that context, maybe he has the duty to the war, right? He has to. So he probably wanted him to do that. And for us, the same, like for doing our duty. But then the Dehabhimana is more like a body consciousness, right? Like people are overdoing it, like dressing up and makeup and things like that. Other than that, like trying to maintain your healthy body, which is what is Kshetra, that the Sarira you have to take care of, the mind you have to take care of for us to get to the self. That I also thought that way, like you were saying, like how do I not identify with the body and mind if I'm thinking about, oh, I have to get healthy and this and that. So that point, I felt maybe the consciousness, meaning like you're overdoing it.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
what is mentioned here very beautifully in the first sentence. Giving up
Oh, okay.
Dehabhimana, even relatively. See,
Mm,
completely giving up is a sannyasi, where he completely loses the Dehabhimana. Whereas even
mm-hmm,
relatively, for us karma yogis, means
mm-hmm,
having appreciation that everything belongs to Ishvara, including this body. So even this body, you consider it as belonging to Ishvara. Then with that attitude, then of course there is caring, right? There is one beautiful shloka which says, Deho dehalaya proktaha jivo deva sanatan. I'm not sure whether I'm saying it right, but it means
mm-hmm,
the body itself is the temple, and the jiva
mm-hmm.
that lives within is Paramatma
It's the
himself.
Paramatma, right? Yeah, actually, when we read this yoga, this chapter, Kshetra and Kshetrajna, that Kshetra is actually we say Kshetradnam, right? When we visit temples,
Temples,
so
right?
we have to treat our body as
Like a
like
temple.
that. Yeah. Mm,
And everything, whatever we read in chapter 13 makes sense. All that antakarna shuddhi, just like how you keep your a temple clean and neat, you also have to keep your body, external, internal, clean. That shaucham should be there,
mm-hmm.
antakarna should be. So all
Right.
that comes in taking care of your body. So
Yeah.
relative,
Somewhere I read like the mind is like Arjuna, and then this Atma is the Atma is Brahman, which is Krishna. So we have to we think like that. I mean, we thought even very time we talked about Atma, like it's a Brahman, then we have to be no blemish. I mean, nothing. No, you can't even think anything bad. Thinking that way.
correct.
So because of the ignorance, we are so attached to all this desires and attachment comes, and all the pain from sorrow.
suffering.
So it is not even something that you can give up. It is a fact that has to be known. When he says it is difficult, he means that you have to mature. That takes time. It cannot be done by will alone. Suppose a banana has to ripen, you cannot force it to do so. Given time, it will ripen by itself. You need not do anything. Similarly, the maturity required to gain this knowledge requires time and conscious living. Going through experiences with an attitude of karma yoga, the dehabhimana lessens. But it takes its own time. From this, it is very clear why he called those karma yogis yoga vittamaha, the most exalted. Their elevation is not in their superiority, but in their propriety of their pursuit. What is propriety? I don't know. Does it mean something to do with priority? Can someone check the meaning of propriety? Swamiji, in fact, Swami Chinmayananda uses more of these words, but propriety. Propriety is conformity to conventionally accepted standards of behavior or morals. The condition of being right, appropriate, or fitting.
It says about decorum or respectability, correctness or rightness. Yeah.
Their elevation is not in their superiority, but in the correctness or rightness of their pursuit. It is not easy for people who are unprepared to contemplate all the time. In fact, it is not possible. Krishna is restating here what he said in the 5th chapter. This explains, I would always have this, I had this question, how to be in that state. Like when you do Sahaj Samadhi or you're meditating, you're in a very beautiful state. How to be in that state throughout. But it is not easy for people who are unprepared to contemplate all the time. In fact, it is not possible. Krishna is restating here what he said in the 5th chapter. Renunciation of action is difficult to accomplish, Arjuna, without karma yoga. Whereas one who is capable of reasoning, who is committed to a life of karma yoga, gains Brahman quickly. Among all those doing karma, the karma yogis who meditate upon Saguna Brahma are Yukta Atmas, the most exalted. The Akshara Brahma Upasakas are to be left out of this comparison. They are Jnanis who are not different from Bhagavan. Jnani tu Atmaiva me matam. They have reached the end the karma yogis are striving for, so they are not eligible for this comparison. Only similars can be compared. It is legitimate to compare various ends, but not the end with the means. Therefore, Krishna mentions only the karma yogis who are Saguna Brahma Upasakas as Yoga Vittatmas. So you cannot compare oranges to apples. You can compare oranges to other oranges. So here, sannyasis, the Nirguna Upasakas are jnanis who are Bhagavan himself. They've completed, they've reached the end. Whereas those that are karma yogis are yoga vittatmas, especially those that are following Saguno Brahma Upasakas. They are the most exalted. So you cannot compare the two. Dehabhimana, identifying oneself, Atma, as the body is definitely not easy to give up. This superimposition of the body, which is Anatma, upon Atma is due to a failure to recognize the nature of Atma. I think we read all this yesterday, no? But we'll do it. Therefore, the clear recognition of the Swarupa of Atma, Pratyag Atma Siddhi, is very important in understanding the teaching. Unless the meaning of the word Tvam, you, in the sentence Tat Tvam Asi, that you are, is properly recognized, it is not possible to understand the meaning of this sentence that. That here is the cause of the creation, which is equated in the sentence to you. If you know the essential nature of I, the equation will become evident. If not, the equation will not mean anything. When I say, you are the Lord, the cause of the creation, if the you is not properly understood, the equation will be contradictory to your understanding of yourself based upon your experience. Because of Dehabhimana, you consider yourself mortal, happy and unhappy, isolated and a product, not the author of everything. Therefore, by those who have this identification with the body, it is difficult to accomplish. Dehavadbihi dukkham avapyate. With a karma yoga buddhi, the mind is prepared for the recognition. Once Pratyagatma is at least recognized by one who is a devotee, the recognition of the Swarupa of Atma can follow. Introducing the next verse, Shankara says that later in this chapter, the behavior of the wise who know Akshara Brahma is going to be described. Now we turn our attention to the karma yogis who meditate. Etu sarvani karmani mai sanyasya matparaha ananyenaiva yogena mam dhyayanta upasate. Two, however, ye, those who, matparaha, being the ones for whom I am the ultimate end, sarvani karmani, all actions, mai, in me, sanyasya, giving up, ananyena eva yogena, with a commitment, dhyayantaha, that is mam dhyayantaha, meditating upon me, mam upasate, worship me. I will just read the meaning and then we'll wind up today. However, those meditators, being the ones for whom I am the ultimate end, giving up all actions unto me, with a commitment in which there is indeed no other, meditating upon me, worship me. I think verse 6 and 7 go together. Teshamaham samudharta mrityu samsara sagarat bhavami nachirat partha maya veshita chetasam. Tesham, for those, mai, in me, aveshita chetasam, whose minds are absorbed, aham, I, na chirat, not after a long time, that is very soon, mrityu samsara sagarat, from the ocean of samsara fraught with death, samudharta, the liberator, bhavami, become, partha. For those whose minds are absorbed in me, Arjuna, before long I become the liberator from the ocean of samsara fraught with death. When we present the two verses together, it is because both are required to complete the idea. As the third and fourth verses are read together, so are the sixth and seventh. Okay. We'll stop here and we'll continue from where we left. Anyone wants to share anything before we just close? Om Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sarvam Shri Krishnarpanamastu.